In the last episode, Aulo had a vision during his sleep that left him with a lasting feeling. Aulo knows he must prepare for an inevitable conversation with Group Mother, but does not know where to begin. He distracts himself by retrieving water, bathing at the pools, and fixing his hunger. Loneliness has blinded Aulo, but Fike reminded him that he is not alone. Aulo expresses his appreciation for Fike. Throughout these activities, Aulo recalls the conversation with his father and compares himself to his brother, Takai. While searing his food on the coals of Towdoon, Aulo is approached by Group Mother, who says it is long past time they spoke. I retrieve my burnt meal from the hot coals before following Group Mother. We walk a path leading away from Towdoon. Our two lounds multiply the light radius and unveil a trail as we walk. I did not think our conversation would arrive so soon. She turns to me and says, "Aulo, what do you do with your time?" Hesitantly, I say, I watch the owls in the dark sky, familiarizing myself with their behaviors. She met my eyes as I spoke. "And what have you found?" I gather my thoughts before responding. I have memorized the clusters they form, and I believe I am beginning to predict their movements, where they will be, and when they will be there. No response. She just continues to find my eyes. So I proceed. "It is good you noticed me. I have been meaning to speak with you." I lie. "Recently I witnessed something unusual." Her eyes flare in response. "One of the owls has vanished, and it hasn't reappeared since. This goes against any observed behavior." She interjects, "I've heard." I send her a confused look. "Tokun spoke with me. And you are not concerned? There is proof. I will show you if I must." She cuts me off. "I believe you, Aulo. When we were young, your mother spoke of similar things. You are aware that her and I were close." I enjoyed her wandering thoughts, even if they were outlandish. I look down at my stride as she continues. "She was just as fascinated by the owls. You remind me so much of her." Group Mother then takes a mournful tone. "But I must warn you, Aulo. Her fixation with the owls is also the reason she is no longer here. I don't know what concerns a lost owl, Aulo, but I do know that our group is in constant need of food, water, protection, and light. Until this constant need becomes less pressing, we simply don't have the resources to find the meaning behind the lost owl." We arrive at Group Mother's den. Her den is unique compared to the others. Instead of being burrowed into the cliff face on the perimeter of the central plateau, it is sunken into the plateau stone and holds many more purposes. We walk down a curving stone slope and part a hewn cloth at the entrance. The space is nearly twice the size of my den. Walls are carved into hundreds of nooks for the keeping of documentation tablets. The circular space is sheltered by a thick hewn canopy and centered around a lowered seating area. This is where the leads of each role meet with Group Mother to discuss greater Junarif matters. Along the perimeter of the room are evenly spaced area lounges. While I examine the space, Group Mother moves to each area lounge and illuminates them with an igniting paste. The additional lighting in the room reveals a passageway opposite the entrance. I assume it connects to her personal space. Group Mother hands me a hewn cloth to snuff my lounge. Fike waddles over to a small creature moving in the passageway. Noticing Fike's intrusive behavior, I whistle him back over to me. Group Mother acknowledges my whistle. No worry, Aulo. You must see. I approach the small creature and realize it is a newborn Fiery. Evu has passed on. She is one with the Auns now. I actually outlived her. Group Mother says and ends with a raspy stomach laugh. I feel with your loss, I say in response. I value, she says back. She looks up as though she can see through the canopy and continues. It is like a part of me has passed on with her. But this tiny one is helping to fill the void, she says while gesturing at the adorably awkward-looking bird. What do you call her? I ask. Nayu, because she is so often sleeping. I look at Nayu's limp resting body and say, I see. I then notice that Fike is looking at me and then looking toward Nayu. I send Fike a whistle of approval and he dashes toward Nayu, proceeding to squat on top of her. Nayu lets out noises of frustration but quickly gives in to Fike's feathery mess of a body. My attention is redirected by Group Mother saying, Come, Aulo, motioning me toward her. You have become frail, she says while examining my lean frame. You must eat while we speak. I move to the lowered seating area and settle across from her. Group Mother then clears her broken voice and says, You have yet to assume a role. I do not mean to sound so harsh, but those who have refused all roles in the past have been lost to exile. I know you are aware. I then look up from devouring my meal to let her know I am listening. She continues. It is the path of the Junarif. Once you are of maturity, you contribute to the group to earn your fortunes. Most don't want to work so hard when they see that others are not. Do you understand my meaning, Aulo? I expected this route of conversation. I respond saying, I realize, Group Mother, but I have no issue contributing to our group. I'm only suggesting that we introduce a new role, a role that focuses on ensuring the future of the Junarif. I am met with silence, so I take it as a chance to continue. If you will allow a small group, mounts, and tools, Aulo, you have never traveled the lands of Iorun. You are not aware of the dangers that await. But there are others who have. I could learn from them. She rubs the distress from her eyes. I am only asking that we search for answers. Consider all the fortunes brought before. Lost fortunes, she responds. Many have never returned. The Junarif were spread too far. We now have less than before the travels. I look down to what's left of my meal as she continues. Numbers are dwindling. Our focus now is on stabilizing our numbers. That is why I'm asking for less, I reply. Something we can afford to lose. Are you not bothered that we may be hiding from the answers? Fortunate discoveries to end our struggles? We are not hiding, Aulo. We are surviving. The Jundun provides more than enough for us. I am bothered that in past times, we had become lost while searching. Group Mother appears exhausted by my efforts. We take a silent moment. I appreciate your eagerness for coming times, but it must be redirected. We use the role system for many reasons, Aulo. Designated roles have guided us through the generations. Will you hear my offerings? I motion in approval. She smiles. As you know, your father has spoken with me. He is insistent on you training for Roke under his guidance. Unsurprising, I think to myself. He believes it to be the structure you need. The favor of training Roke is ensuring the future of our group, something you seem to align with. I interrupt and begin to say, I know, but... She interjects. You have proven to be one of our strongest climbers. The ability to quickly traverse these vertical cliff faces makes you ideal in training for Roke. However, your abilities also make you ideal in training for Rai. I was partially listening until that last word. Rai? As in the Rais who hunt for Jundrake eggs? With unwavering eyes, she says, Yes. I am reasonably confused. One does not choose to train for Rai. I respond quickly, but one has to be selected from youth and trained throughout. I have never trained. Group Mother waits for me to settle and says with great emphasis, Aulo, do not speak with your father about this. It will only cause trouble. I motion in agreement. You were chosen for Rai. Your father denied the request. After your mother was gone, he did not want you to be involved in anything that meant leaving the Jundun. You know that becoming Rai is not for the long living. Resentment consumes me. Not his decision to be made. Do not be so harsh, Aulo. Your mother is gone, and you are his last of her. I am the one who approved his request. Why? Why would you make an exception for him? He is the lead of the Roke, and we had both recently grieved your mother. But now that we are in a situation where you are facing exile, I am allowing you this option. What will you tell my father if I choose to train for Rai? I ask. You must tell him that you came to me with the idea, and that you refused every other role. He would rather have you train Rai than see you exiled. I'm not so sure, I reply. I hate being in the position of keeping truths from your father. but we must keep harmony between the leads. He will not take well if he hears that I spoke against him. Then why is telling me worth that risk? Because you are stubborn like him. I felt you would choose exile over training for Roke. She is right. Group Mother continues. Further, we are in need of another Rai. We have only 8 active after the loss of 2 members recently. There is 1 in training, but he is young. How many active Jundrake? I ask. We now hold 7 Jundrake, 5 of which are full grown. It is the lowest amount in generations. I knew the situation was grim, but not this grim. She continues. You are aware of our dependence on Jundrake. If you seek a role that could meaningfully ensure the future of our group, consider training Rai. Show your worth, and others will listen. There is a silence as I weigh the information. Of course, you are not being forced in any direction. I will allow you time to think. She then rises from the seating area. Come find me before I go looking for you. After leaving Group Mother, Fike and I rest on the plateau edge above my den, my feet suspended over the canyon abyss. Fike is leaning against me. I feel relief that such a dreaded moment has passed, but concern for the decision that now faces me. No amount of thinking could have prepared me for our conversation. Train for Roke, train for Rai, or embrace exile. None of which are the options I had hoped for. One I had not even expected. It is hard to accept that I was chosen for Rai, and that my father had taken that opportunity from me. Being chosen for Rai is an honor among our group, and I had no knowledge of it, because Tokun was more concerned about how it would affect him. My fate feels decided by others. No matter the path I choose, someone will be disappointed. Exile feels like the only true avoidance. No one to disappoint when there is no one but myself. I turn to Fike and say, exile feels closer than before. Fike looks at me with his usual head tilt. I know how I sound. But in exile we would expect death, and all else would be fortune. Our fate beyond the Jundun isn't decided. There are many unknowns out there, I say as my eyes drift toward the dark beyond. I return from thought and look to Fike. We would follow the water. The water goes somewhere. I am still allowing myself to weigh the options. But if the time comes and the choice isn't clear, maybe exile is our only path forward.